Hello and welcome to 3 Books with Duyii. I am your host, Damilola Olagunju, and my guest this week is Damilola Olagunju. Dami is a full-stack developer who has worked at Google, and he's also an author of several books, the most recent which is Mr. TT and the Three Robbers. Dami is my very close friend, who is more or less like a brother. Interestingly, he is the co-producer of this podcast. How far, Dami? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. What's up?
Very well, man. Very well.
Yeah.
How is work and everything
Yeah,
going?
what is fine. Again, like if you just went out today in Lagos, you not even think that anything like Corona exists. But like I'm actually, bro, traffic, parking, everything is back like fully.
Everything is back. You be like saying Corona don't run away. Corona
pandemic.
Corona don't dig yet.
Corona is tired.
Bro, it's scary, man. It's very scary to be honest. I went out the other day.
Rising. They're rising even way more than when we're much more careful and conscious about it.
Yes, WHO said that about like they recorded a death toll that was like the highest ever, even since it came out, like the worst death toll ever, just like 3 or 4 days ago. So it's getting crazy. I think people are getting used to it and not.
Yeah, I think we've reached lockdown fatigue where people are just tired. Like
lockdown fatigue. That's what. Like regardless, whoever go there, go die.
Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah.
That's cool. All right. So, what are your 3 books, Dami?
So my 3 books are the Game of Thrones series.
Okay.
So that's the whole 7 books or 6 books so far.
It's releasing one.
Yeah, Song of Fire and Ice. Sorry, that's how it's more popular now.
Yeah.
My second book is Artificial Intelligence: A Modern Approach, and my third is The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which was the regime that which Nazi Germany was operating in.
Okay. Man, Damo, these your books are heavy. For those that don't know, Dami is the brain behind this podcast, and the person, he was the one that actually came up with the name. So this guy
give me so much credit, bro.
Damo the genius. All right, so let's start. Which one do you want to start with?
We can start with AI. I think that's fine.
Okay, yeah. Oh boy, let's go.
Oh, anyone you feel? Anyone
AI
you feel?
AI is fine.
Okay, all right.
It's perfect. So tell us about the book.
Yeah. So obviously this was more of a book that we had to take during our course, because I was taking a course in artificial intelligence in uni.
Yeah.
And this was the book recommended to us. And usually I don't like computer science books. Bore the hell out of me. Like I'm very uninterested.
Wait, how like, you are like one of the best computer scientists I know. So how?
Yeah, it's just about numbers. It's about algorithms. It's about calculations. Like there's nothing to really think about. You see it and you do it. But in this book, you really delved into the philosophy of AI, and I think that part was so interesting to me. And like everything that has to be done, we have to start from the definition, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the book portrayed what exactly is artificial intelligence. Like, what do we understand by it? Because if we can define it, then maybe we can actually do it, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'll just digress for a while. Right now, there's no true AI in the sense. What we have is machine learning. It takes in a lot of data, and it gives a prediction of what the next step would be.
So what you mean? Sorry, what you mean is like what you mean by there is no true AI? Like, do you mean like no, like in the sense of AGI or like strong AI?
So we're okay. Let me just go into definition. So basically, there are 4 ways to define AI. Number 1 is thinking humanly.
Okay.
Number 2 is thinking rationally. Number 3 is acting humanly. And number 4 is acting rationally. Thinking humanly. There's a test called the Turing test. It was proposed by Alan Turing in 1950, and He basically said that if a program or a computer, or if humans cannot distinguish a computer
Yeah,
from whether it's a human or a computer, then
yeah,
it acts like a human, right?
yes,
Obviously, this is limited only to textual and voice inferences. So obviously, you can't see a computer and say, "Oh, this is a human." We don't have that kind of biological sophistication to create
yeah.
robots as human yet.
So,
But yeah, that's the first definition, and that's the
okay,
major definition.
quick question
Yeah,
on
sure.
the first one about the Turing test. You say like if it is um a human being cannot distinguish if that's an actual computer like that is
Yeah,
performing a
sure.
particular task or not. Okay, is
Yeah,
an example Siri? Because sometimes Siri can talk and you
yeah.
wouldn't know that Siri is something that passes a Turing test.
So absolutely not. The Turing test is more robust than that. Obviously, it has a lot of the
Okay,
we've gone quite far since 1950. That's when the Turing test was proposed. But technology has advanced much further than it was expected to be. But
yeah,
but basically, the Turing test is I'm talking to you now. I know, say you be human being, right?
yeah, yeah,
So let's say you're replaced with a robot or a computer. Can I have
yeah.
a 2 hour, 3 hour conversation with that
Oh,
same
okay, okay, okay. So
robot?
it's
And
not
say,
about the texture of the
yeah,
voice.
yeah,
It's not
no,
about how it looks like.
it's not exactly objective based, like, but
Okay,
it's just an intuition that, okay,
okay,
if I
okay.
can't differentiate between the person talking to me, whether it's a human or
Yeah,
robot, then fine. Then you
yeah.
can say that machine acts like a human. But that's the
That
first
okay.
definition, and
Makes sense.
that's very interesting. So, but the second definition I think is also interesting, which is thinking humanly, and this one is a bit more. I thought it was a bit more controversial, because
Okay.
it really challenged my worldview of how exactly it is we do the things we do and why we do them. So basically, it was saying that if you can figure out how humans think, using all the processes that we know about how the human brain works,
Yeah,
if you can replicate, say, the billions of neurons running through our brain, if you can
yeah,
replicate
yeah,
maybe a tissue-like substance like the brain that can allow us to think, if we
yeah,
can, replicate the actions we have, the emotions we have in the brain,
yeah,
um, then can we exactly say the AI or the machine or whatever is thinking like a human? Because what we've done is just basically we've copied the brain, but then again, the machine will be running on physical laws, laws of physics, right?
yes,
Laws
yes.
of electricity, laws of physics, laws of speed of light and whatnot.
Electromagnetism.
Electromagnetism, yeah. So basically, it was replacing the neurons, say, with optic fibers.
Yeah,
So that way, the thought process would be much much faster than maybe wires and stuff like that. But
yeah. That. Okay.
basically, yeah, it just got me thinking that, say, okay, if you can actually do this, then do we have any sort of free will? Like, are we governed by those same laws?
Yeah, that's
What is
determinism.
the
Yeah,
point? Yeah, that
we
determinism is.
just talked about before the call we talked briefly on Sam Harris. So Sam Harris is a very huge um supporter of determinism. He doesn't believe that there's free will,
Yeah.
and the guy is also a very huge advocate on the danger of AI. So that brought me to what's it called? I think will digress a bit, just a bit.
Okay. Sure, that's fine.
Um, you talked about what's it called? Trying to replicate the brain,
Yeah.
right? Try to replicate the makeup of the brain in machine so that I'll be able to. So I
Yeah.
watched or I listened to a podcast by one of the lead. I've forgotten his name. He was a Lex Friedman podcast. So he brought one of the leading neurologists, and
Okay.
he said that what we can do right now is we've improved in terms of the cartography of the brain, like mapping out the brain. All right, we can map out the brain well, but we've not been able to map it out like completely down to the minutest
Yeah.
neurons. All right,
Yeah.
so his problem is we can spend billions, like the way they spend billions trying to do the human genome,
Yeah.
the trying to map out the genomic structure of the human beings, right? They've done that, all right? So he's saying that even if we spend billions of dollars trying to map out the every neuron in the brain, he said knowing the map, knowing how it is, doesn't exactly explain to you why it does what it does and how it does what it does. Do you understand? That's the main problem. And I think that's the thin line between consciousness, all right, and materialism and the material. Some people will say that most people, they call it epiphenomenology, all right. So some people think that consciousness is as a result of neurons firing at each other and all of that we don't really necessarily have a soul, and whatever we do is dependent on the neurons, is basically materialism. And then my problem now is that it is a big faction, is a two-sided debate. Some people think that, okay, we can, mapping out the brain, we'll be able to understand how the brain works, right? Or why it does, and able to replicate it. But my sense is we might be able to map it out, because
but we don't know why we do.
We don't know why exactly. We don't know how because
we can know the how, but we don't know the why.
Exactly. There are billions of circuitries. I mean, billions of circuits that are being created per time. Do you understand? For certain things to happen. So we don't know why they are connecting the way they are connecting and how they are doing that. Do you get?
Exactly. So, that's exactly the
so
that's why I spent a lot of time
defeats that determinism, deterministic, because me, I believe in free will. Right. So that's by the way. That just reminded me about something.
You got it absolutely right. And it's just, how can we determine that if there's an algorithm to how we think, can we replicate that in a machine? And what are the consequences of replicating that? That means, do we really have control over the things we do? Because if it's that easily flexible. But that was a very interesting.
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And I can go into the third and fourth ones, but if you want to go to another topic,
no, fine. Just continue.
So
I'm enjoying this.
The third one was thinking rationally, and now this one was, this one was even probably just about controversial as the previous one. But let's define rational thinking. Rational thinking basically is what is the right thing. Look, if you are given a premise, if you are given a correct premise, for example, can you draw a correct conclusion? So basically, if Shirer is a man and all men are mortal, therefore Shirer is mortal. That makes sense, right? That's
like induction.
Exactly. Exactly. So that makes sense, right? That's logical. So given a common premise, then can we determine the correct conclusion? But again, there's a very big difference between solving something in principle and solving something in practice. And you can't really define the premise of the real world into a bunch of steps or a bunch of knowledge base, like a knowledge base, and feed into a program and say, okay, draw whatever conclusion, whether Shirer is a good person, given all these attributes you know about him and whatnot. So that was interesting, but I figured, again, it's humans that are defining what rational thinking is. It's humans that are defining what the right thing to. And as we know, throughout history, that has changed multiple times. So we don't actually know if it's humans that is in charge of determining what rationality is and what is rational or not rational. Then I think it's already flawed. So it really defeats itself. And I think that was just my argument against that third one. And the last one is acting rationally. So let's just define an agent as something that acts. A rational agent will be something that achieves the best outcome, or in the case of uncertainty, the best expected outcome. So I'll just give an example, just to, this is just all definitions and theory. But an example would be to say, if a car is, let's say a robot is behind the car, and in the case of automated vehicles, that is the case. And two people jump in front of the car. The car can only divert to one way. If it diverts to the left, say it kills someone.
It has to kill
Right.
someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, this example is so grimy, by the way, but
Yeah.
it's the only example where I can capture people's imagination. If you divert to the right, someone else dies. Now, if it's someone to the left that maybe is, let's say an 18-year-old kid just starting his life out, and someone to the right, let's just say an elderly person, maybe 70 years old,
or
let's just
maybe a
ask,
cancer patient,
yes,
70
exactly,
years.
yes, exactly. Someone that is affected. The rational decision now from the computer, say, or from the rational agent. Shay, what do you think? Let me ask you that first. What do you actually think? What do you think the rational thing is? Let me bust
Guy,
your.
no, they do this thing now.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Anyways,
you already know my
yeah,
answer. You know
yeah.
my
I know
answer.
your answer. I know your answer, and I have the same
Exactly.
answer too. But basically, you're just saying. But basically, just saying that is the kind of situation we would give, that kind of power we would give to the rational agent. But then again, when you think about it, that can also turn against us, because even in some AI movies, this is portrayed where the AI
Exactly.
essentially rises up against the human because we are destroying the
Exactly.
earth.
See that humans are virus
So
of the
yeah,
earth.
exactly. Yeah. So the rational, except the rational agent is even if the rational agent is created to protect humans, it's to end up killing humans because humans are the worst enemy against
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So it defeats itself as well. So again and again with the same, just like with the last one, it is humans defining what is acting rational or not. And except we can create an AI that can automatically determine what's rational according to some completely objective goal, then I think also that's flawed. So
That's a completely sentient machine.
yeah,
Can
exactly.
can think for itself.
Um, so even like yeah, exactly. So those were the four definitions, and the
But
philosophy
bro,
behind it is very
it's
much
scary, man.
interesting. Yeah,
It's
it's scary as
scary.
well. I agree
It's
with you,
really
but like,
scary.
there was also this debate that we're having in class at the time where we're asked to think of how, for example, can I predict where you'll be in 10 years? Can we predict where we'll be in 10 years? Or can an algorithm do that?
Yeah.
And we're just asked to figure out ways at which this work. So I was thinking, okay, would have to first of all get a lot of data on the person. For example, if I
Yeah.
know Cher goes to the gym um Monday to Thursday at
Yeah.
6 7, and he has done that for the last 2 weeks, it's not really
Yeah.
hard to predict that he's going to do that on Monday, on
Mm-hmm.
this week on Tuesday, like from maybe 6 to 7 as well. Like that's not really very hard, but it's
Yeah.
trying to determine again just the number of data points you would need, your aggressiveness, your likability, your
Yeah.
agreeability, your relationship with others, and don't forget you also have to and that's just assuming that the world is constant, right? Like the world is not changing. It's
Exactly.
that's
Like
changing.
everything. It's just like
Because
the
you have to
laws of
you
physics.
also,
Everything is
you
constant.
also have to factor in the data points of every single person on earth. That would
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
insane. But in computer science, we always say nothing is impossible. But I think this is it's going to be very insanely challenging.
I, and I think that can only be possible when you have this presupposition that whatever it is in the world and whatever it is that is governing us are just the laws of physics and just materialism. All right.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
the conversation I had with the last person I had conversation, Timmy, the last podcast episode,
Mhm.
where he talked about like the material world is even the least real of the the whole world. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Like
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
we see because this is what we can perceive with our senses, our sensory organs. We feel like this is what is real, but really, I feel like there's something that is more to this world, more to this earth, that really affects the way we behave. It's not just the material world. Like
Yeah.
we can predict to an extent, all right? The presupposition that all that is is material world. So I think that
Exactly.
they are like spiritually now, because both of us we have the same idea in terms of
Yeah.
spirituality, right? So
Yeah.
spiritually there are so many things that can affect the material world. All right,
Yeah.
so it will be very very difficult and almost impossible to predict where someone will be in 10 years, even 5 years.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
very,
with
very,
you. Like
yeah, it's very
like
distinct.
many of the applications coming out has to do with predictions. Stock market
Predictions, yeah.
predictions, weather
Yeah. This was
predictions.
like a weak
Um,
AI.
those yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we call weak AI. You're absolutely right.
Mm.
Those are what we have a lot of data behind it, and we
Mm-hmm.
just extrapolate
Yeah.
certain t plus n into the future, and
Yeah.
it works. It works well. It's fair. Obviously, predictions are not they are not given. So that's
Mm.
I think AI still has a long way to go. Like there were some
Exactly.
pretty dark.
That was what I was
That's a
about to
long
ask
way to
you.
go.
That was what I
It's a
was
very
about
long
to
way to
ask you.
Yeah.
That what are, like, how many years do you think we can get to the level of AGI, to the level of those four criteria you just mentioned? What, like, how many years do you think, and do you even think it is achievable? Because
I think yeah.
I hear people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates talking about their concerns about AGI, that if
Yeah.
it is not slowed down, if certain laws are not put in place, it can be the undoing of the human race. So what do
Yeah.
you
So
think
so
exactly? How many
so
years?
so again, I'm an optimist, just by nature.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the biggest threat AI right now has in the world is economic disruption. And
Okay.
that is a far bigger threat than what you see on, the Terminator movies and
Yeah.
other Hollywood movies that portray AI as robots coming to kill human beings. I think the death would be in terms of the economic disruption. I mean, just the amount of automation that is going to be taking place over the
Yeah.
next 15 to 20 years is going to be insane. And
You
we
be
are
like
now,
those cyberpunks,
yeah,
those
exactly.
cyberpunks movies.
Yeah, and it's gonna wipe out million. I'm talking of millions and millions of jobs. And it's not gonna be. It's gonna be something that we'll have to adjust. That could take us quite a
Yeah.
while. Definitely more
Yeah.
than 10 years to
Or
adjust to
maybe
the
not even adjust at all.
AI. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we're not adjust at all. So and even that. I mean, we're creating AI programs to write other AI programs, and that's the level we are at now. And
Mm.
it's very scary. I think that's the scariest part of AI to me for now. Just the amount of economic disruption, the amount of jobs that's going to be lost, and it's certain that millions of jobs, like this, is not up for debate anymore. Automation will lose millions of jobs. I mean, factories now will be controlled by at most 10 people, just doing basic work, really, just making sure that everything is in place.
And
Once,
my office is a perfect example. People are really losing jobs because of AI. They've already
yeah,
started incorporating lots of AI
yeah,
programs to
absolutely,
my,
absolutely,
and they're already telling us beforehand that in a couple of years' time, they're already telling us to go and learn Python programming or learn, do you understand? Like in a
yeah,
couple of years' time, more than half of the workforce at work will be gone
yeah. Because again,
in just
automation
few
just
years.
it makes perfect sense for the capitalist system, right? It makes so
Yeah.
perfect sense. You don't have to deal with humans. They never complain. They always follow the exact thing you give them.
And they are
Always,
efficient.
and
They'll be
they're
very
super,
efficient.
much more efficient at what they do than the typical human being. Humans could never be as efficient as a machine designed for its purpose. It's just a fact. If a
Mm.
machine is designed to create cars, a human being will never be as efficient because humans yes, we can learn to do something very well over a period of time, but we are built to live. We are not built to work on, a particular thing for many years, like the AI systems
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's where the real challenge is. Where we have to
The
accept it.
economic,
Yeah, the
the
economic challenge.
economic,
We have to accept this because whether we like it or not, we cannot fight change. We can't fight.
so
Um,
you have this idea that
Again, yeah, sorry, yeah, the ultimatum
it
part.
is unavoidable.
Yeah, at the episode, yeah, exactly. If you try to fight it, it's gonna just keep on building. We are just postponing the inevitable, in
Mm.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I've heard American politicians talk about, trying to stop companies from innovating. Like this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. If
I think
America,
there's an
if America is not innovating, China is innovating. China is not
China
innovating.
is
India
innovating.
is innovating.
Yes, yes,
If India is not innovating, Russia, somebody is innovating. Someone
yeah,
will get behind, whether I like it or not, because humans cannot help but make things better. We cannot help
exactly.
but
That was what I was about to
it's
say.
just
That
an
there's this
innate,
innate
it's just
desire
built
to
in
make things
us. Yeah,
better.
it's just an innate desire. Whether or not we're driving ourselves or digging our own graves, we just can't help it.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's just my thoughts on AI. But again, I said I
sure.
was an optimist, and there's my optimism, and whether or not it's optimistic. I think we are the same thing was said about the 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 internet age. The same thing was said
Yeah,
about the telephone. The same thing was said about the vehicles in the time of when it was coming up. Um, Jobs were lost for sure. People were in economic disarray, the economic change, but he adapted eventually. That's because I think if one thing is like humans can always do is to adapt and to persevere, to persist. But again,
fair
it's
enough.
gonna be tough. It's gonna be the toughest. It's gonna be the toughest time. I think the next 10, 15 years it's gonna be very challenging for many companies, especially those that are very
Sure.
labor intensive.
Yeah, the
Um,
blue collar jobs.
and blue collar jobs, economies that are very labor intensive. I mean, houses now are getting replaced by IoTs, Internet of Things, and
Yeah.
you're not going to need anyone to really fix anything anymore. It's just going to be,
Now
debug.
some houses are being built
I
with
can just buy spare
3D
parts and
printers.
replace it. Exactly, 3D printer. Oh my God, you just brought another things.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3D printers. There's not going to be a need to buy something to fix anymore. You're just going to watch a YouTube video, get the part on 3D printer, and fix yourself.
I swear.
But yeah, that's for me.
Anyways, let's move on now to I think Hitler, the Third Reich.
Sure. The Third Reich, yeah.
Again.
Um, so yeah, so the book was, first of all, I never, I read this book, I think it was about 4 years ago now. And before that, I barely knew anything about the Second World War. I always knew that it was a disastrous time that involved, almost all the nations in the world, basically all the nations in the world in different various ways. Nigeria was even involved. Um, all the colonies of Europe at the time were involved. But what struck me about the book was it really portrayed the characters, and I think that's something we miss in this kind of historical accounts is the
Yeah.
characters that were involved. And I think Hitler sucked so much attention to himself that we fail to realize the
That there were guys
barbarity of the
behind the
people,
curtain.
like the barbarity he had, the barbarians he had beside him and around him. I mean, these people were sick. And it struck me what more horrific that Hitler was not the sickest individual in his
Yeah.
gang of sycophants. And I was really surprised because the Third Reich was okay. Yeah, let me just for the listeners, I'll just give maybe a brief summary. So yeah, the Third Reich was invented by a so the Nazi philosophy was invented by it was a teacher in a university. I can't remember the university or the teacher's name. I'm sorry, but not Hitler did not invent the Nazi Party. He merely
Yeah.
adopted it, merely channeled it, and he merely just used it. Honestly, I think he could have channeled any ideology into what he eventually wanted, but that's just my
Exactly.
opinion because he was
Mm,
just that kind of guy.
mm.
And even the way he took over, let's not forget, Hitler came in democratically.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't military coup. It wasn't this violence revolution. It was peaceful. There were almost nobody died when he came in. He came in on the back of on the verdicts, or also on the support of the German people at the time. And I
Yeah.
was really shocked by his charisma. I mean, this guy had a sense to him that when you heard him speak, you're almost in trance.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you were paralyzed by admiration for this guy. You were
That was a
paralyzed by the things
gift.
he was saying.
I think that was a big better gift than
Yeah,
his
yeah,
artistic
exactly. He
claims.
had almost no military wisdom whatsoever. I mean, this guy, I'm sure he got lucky many, many times. And I think part of the reason why he got lucky is because the Western powers at the time did not take him serious. They thought it
Yeah.
was a nut job. They thought it was a madman. They thought it was a lunatic, and it was all those things. But they never thought he could actually do half of the things he said he did.
It was a smart man. It was actually
It was
really
very
smart.
smart. Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
smart. And the thing that shocked me is that Hitler wrote all this in a book.
Yes. I think
And the
I
book
think
was
I think
out
I
there.
think I think that is why. I think you know how we talk about Genghis Khan, talk about all of
Yeah,
these great leaders. We talk about Genghis Khan with so much admiration right now, right?
yeah,
And he literally killed about 10% of the world's population at that time.
yeah, yeah.
About he killed so many people that it lowered the carbon footprint on Earth. Right?
Yeah,
It was so mad.
yeah.
But now you see people romanticizing Genghis Khan. They make movies
Hmm.
of him, and like, do you get?
Yeah, they're making
And this is
things of
because
him. They're making lots of
yeah, we
things of him.
don't know so much.
So
Hitler
much.
did
Yeah, that's
a terrible job for himself. I'm sure if he hadn't written any of these books,
true.
right? If he hadn't
Yeah,
documented and filmed any of these things, right? For give or take 100 or 200 years, you'll be immortalized. People would be saying great things about him. But now,
do you think?
because we have everything, we
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
books, we have the films, we
yeah.
see they are,
I thank God we have
we
those
can
things
see
anyway.
inside the sick mind. We can
Yeah,
see inside the
thank God we
sick
have
mind.
those things anyway.
Yeah, to be honest, that was his undoing. He undid
Yeah,
himself.
and I think yeah, I mean yeah. So the rise itself was and forgive me if I use the word, it was pretty inspirational. Inspirational in the sense that you see a guy that was not Hitler was not even German. That's the funny
Yeah,
thing. Hitler was
yeah,
Austrian. He
yeah,
came from Austria after the First World War. He came wretched. He came poor. He was begging in the streets of Munich for a while. He had nothing, no hope whatsoever. But what Hitler had was speech. Hitler literally brought into power probably the greatest military empire the world has ever seen, um, on the back of words. And it really struck me the power of words. Hitler just used words.
yeah,
Hitler used
yeah,
words to, first of all, entrance a whole nation into doing his bidding. Then he used words to deceive the Western powers that
yeah,
he's not doing the things he was doing.
yeah.
So his words were pretty powerful, and the way he spoke,
Yeah.
again, he had this dark charisma to him
Mm.
that really just left you confused as to who this guy was. You hated him, but when you met him, you loved him. And that's exactly the problem the Western powers had. I mean, the UK had this stupid, and I say stupid intentionally. I mean, their foreign minister at the time was a guy named Ribbentrop. So I don't know if this guy was under Hitler's charm, or maybe
Was it
he
the
was just.
pact they made, like Britain made with Germany?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it. The pact they made with Germany. That
Yeah.
was the most disastrous thing. I think if Churchill had been louder at the time, there will be no World War II. But Churchill was the
Mm.
only voice, literally in the Western world, that was screaming that this guy is a nut job. This guy is crazy. And Hitler knew this. Hitler was terrified of Winston Churchill, and you could see it from his entries. You could see it from the way he interacted with the generals. Whenever
Yeah.
he heard Churchill's name, Churchill was the only thing in his way.
Yeah.
Basically. Um, but again, the rise was pretty remarkable. But
And
once he got his nation, once he had complete control of the German military, of
yeah.
the German economy, of the German
Yeah.
power, the advancements and the expansion of the Nazi Empire was so fast and so swift. I mean, Second World War lasted 4 years.
Yeah.
Hitler conquered half of Europe in 3.5 years.
Yes. Yeah.
That is a remarkable feat, for all it's worth. And I'm not praising it. I'm not romanticizing what he's done,
Mm.
obviously. But I'm just
But you have
saying
to give the devil his due.
it's even Western powers were fascinated by his power.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But one cannot talk about Hitler without talking about the factors um
yeah, yeah,
that
absolutely,
made
yeah,
it happen, right? There were so many
yeah.
things that
So
happened in Germany.
yes, yeah. So the first thing obviously was the end of the First World War.
Yeah.
So in my thinking, the war was just paused, in my opinion, because after the First World War, Germany signed this treaty in Versailles
Besides, yeah.
that devastated the economy. I mean, they were paying up payments after payments that they could progress no further. Economically, they were doomed. because the Western powers and the people, the Western powers, yeah, basically sent them the bill for the war, and they had to keep on paying these payments. And so the
They
economy
said they
was,
were printing money so
yeah,
much that there was
exactly.
hyperinflation. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the time, bread was sold, and they were bringing wheelbarrows of cash
Yeah, for
for
bread.
sacks of bread, and that was pretty. Just to show you how crazy it was back then. So Germany was in an economic disaster. I mean, it was a chaos. People were begging, people were starving, people were thinning out, and there was a lot of anger among the young men of the country at the time. And of course, when there's economic dire in the country, when there is unemployment in the tens, in the high tens, um, anybody anybody that comes along really, that comes with this messianic
Yeah,
vision of changing their lives, and that's what they saw Hitler as, a messiah. He was coming
yeah.
to save them. He was coming to make Germany great again, and he did make Germany great again for a while. Um, he was coming to bring them out and put them back where Germany was. Um, so that's why they listened
And
to him so much, and
Ge-
that was the
Gem-
message.
Germany
Yeah,
was literally like hell at that time.
yeah, it
And I
was.
think
It actually
and I think
was.
it was literally like hell. And I think partly, right? I'm not saying Hitler was a very terrible human being, if not one
Yeah,
of the
it was.
most terrible
Especially,
human
and
beings
let's
of all
not
time.
forget, like even his racial theories as well. That's another.
Yes,
That's a whole other
exactly.
aspect that
But
we haven't even
but
touched.
partly I think that the rest of Europe is also to blame to an extent. The
Mm-hmm,
victors of the First World War, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, you could see greed in them when they were doing that treaty. Do you understand? Like
Yeah,
the treaty wasn't necessarily to pay back for all the damage, but really actually to punish Germany
yeah. It
and to
was to
punish them
humiliate them.
to
Yeah, because they were
humiliate
a very
them,
proud
right?
country. Yeah,
They even took France even took a portion of their country, was controlled by
yeah,
France.
yeah,
Like it was complete humiliation.
yeah. They
And
carved up the country.
I think if the Treaty of Versailles did not happen, like if the kind of what's it called, the kind of agreements they had did not happen, just maybe there wouldn't have been a Second World War. It wouldn't have been so bad for them because it would have made the German people be more sensible than they were. Do you understand? Like there was so much hell that all they could beg for was anybody, even if it's the devil. Even if the devil will come out from hell and say, I am going to lead you people to order, to restore order to your country, regardless, they were willing, right? So Carl Jung, I think you know who Carl Jung is, one
What?
psychologist, one of the greatest
Yeah,
psychologists ever. He
yeah,
said that he said Hitler was the mouthpiece of the collective
yeah,
unconscious of the
yeah,
German people. Every German person was thinking about law and order because was thinking about bringing Germany out of the hell that it was. And
yeah,
Hitler was someone that embodied the dark desire of the mob, the dark
yeah.
desires of the German people, order and revenge. They not
It
just
was.
wanted order, they wanted revenge. And
Yeah,
Hitler
exactly.
was someone, as he said in his speech, was someone that could he knew exactly what the people wanted. He had this sense of the things to say that will rile them up, the things he would say that will make people support him more. So he was
Yeah,
a very good orator. He saw these things that these people they need this thing. And
yeah,
at the
and I think
time,
yeah,
and at the time he had restored law and order because he didn't I don't think he started out this is ritualistic and this is demonic ideas until he had like kind of restored order in Germany, like right.
yeah, and
That
next
was
Austria
when
as well.
yes, that was when he had already gained complete control, was already a dictator, that he was both
Yeah,
chancellor and head of state at the same
yeah.
time. So at that point, there was no going back for the German people. I'm sure they would have realized that. So boy, this guy an idiot, oh, now madman. But bro, they can't do anything anymore. They've signed a deal
So
with the devil.
yeah, so I think yeah, you touched on many important points, but I think Hitler did what every populist always does.
Yeah.
He gave
Mm.
them an enemy, and that was so key. into his coming into power. Hitler gave them a face to hate, which were the Jews at the time. So,
Yeah.
so, so the Jews at the time were in charge of a lot of the financial institutions. They were in
Yeah.
charge of a significant part of the German economy, and they were German Jews. They were living there for many generations.
Yeah.
But they were in very prominent places,
Mm.
as they usually are in many countries.
Yeah.
Um, but Hitler gave them a reason. He said, these are the people, these are your enemies. These are the ones that ruined our financial system. These are the ones that are stealing all the money in the banks. These are the ones that are controlling the economy, that are putting us in ruin. These are the ones that were behind the Treaty of Versailles that
Yeah.
caused the downturn of our fatherland. And I think it just brought another angle to me that for every populist movement, there's always a common enemy that the people perceive. And you can
Yeah.
look at this, yeah. So you have to give them that enemy. You
Mm.
have to give them that person to hate, that reason to hate. And that just fueled into the chaos that happened during the Second World War.
Mm.
And obviously with his racial ideologies and his racial bent to it, um, he brought in some of the most vile characters the world has ever known. I mean, talk about Heinrich Himmler, which was the
Himmler.
Himmler. That guy,
That guy was
honestly,
the devil. It was actually the
that
devil himself.
guy was that guy probably should be the right hand man of the devil himself. I don't understand how that kind of guy can come to this world. So for those, so I'll just for the benefit of the listener, Heinrich Himmler was in charge of the Gestapo SS, and he was in charge of the systematic elimination, what they call the systematic elimination of the Jews at the time. So he was the one that really laid out the blueprint for the concentration camps. So at first, Hitler was actually not too bothered. Funny enough, was actually not too bothered
Yeah, I think he
by
did
the
he
Jews.
asked them to send
He
them to
had to give,
Madagascar or something.
yeah. So all he wanted was the expulsion of the Jews. He actually
Yeah.
didn't care too much. He didn't want, like, not that he didn't want. I won't use that word. He didn't want, but he was not pushing for the extinction of all Jews everywhere. you know. But with the increasing, like he had already started a fire he could not tame. He had started a fire he could not control, and he was engulfed by the fire eventually. and
Mm.
and with the people like Heinrich Himmler coming forward, that really hated, like, that. This guy had a deep seated hatred for Jews.
For Jews.
For Jews, yeah. And when I was reading that time, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Um, because it's wanting to hate someone, it's wanting to hate a group of people, but it's not wanting to not even want them to exist at all. The Jews were saying, okay, let's go to Poland, we'll go out of your country, we won't see us anymore there. But that was not enough for them. That wasn't enough for these sick, people. They had to systematically eliminate them everywhere. Even when they invaded Poland, the first thing they did was to round up all the Jews everywhere,
Mm.
take them, ship them off to
So
concentration camps. And
Auschwitz.
also struck me that I think, I don't know whether to find this comical or not, but Heinrich Himmler was a chicken farmer before he joined the Nazi party. And it just struck me, and that's not the first time I'm seeing this anywhere in history, where the most vile people are typically people with so-called quote unquote normal jobs, normal people.
Yeah.
He was a chicken farmer, and he got engulfed also by the Nazi ideology. And again, I use the ideology is so powerful because
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter who is behind it, it's to take over the person completely. I'm not trying to excuse anyone from being engulfed in ideology, but
Yeah.
ideologies are extremely dangerous,
Yeah.
especially if they have that bent to it. That you can't even think straight anymore. You're just doing things, not knowing why, not knowing what you're doing, but you're just acting
Ideological
on,
possession.
yeah, ideological position. You got the word right. It was a position, and I think that's what engulfed the German people at the time, because now many people look back in history and think, what the hell was wrong with these people? Like, what happened? Because it got to a point in time where neighbors that had yes, they were attacked. They were killing their Jewish neighbors.
Yeah.
When Hitler came to power, there was a purge, essentially, of Jews.
Yeah.
There was a rioting against the Jews. So people were just people that you had dinner with a week ago. You were slaughtering them in their houses for
Yeah.
no other reason than the fact that they were Jews.
Yeah.
And it's a madness, really, that it scares me. Honestly, I think that's probably the most horrific book I've
Uh,
read.
Damo.
How strong the ideologies are. Yeah.
So I really appreciate that you mentioned this, because I was trying to like kind of steer the conversation towards this, and this is something I would really love to touch and talk
Okay.
about. The fact you mentioned, the fact that Himmler was just a normal person, was just
Yeah.
a chicken farmer, right?
Yeah.
What I see in this day and age is this kind of um arrogance, like moral arrogance. You look back in history and be like, that couldn't have been me. That can never be me. Those guys were disgusting.
Yeah.
Those guys were. I love the fact that you said these were normal people. And I think in this day and age, we stand the danger of committing the same crimes again. If we don't
Yeah.
acknowledge that these people were normal people like us. All right. Acknowledging the fact that if care is not taken, we are not more morally superior than these
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
If the parameters are put in place, if the right conditions, or in quotes right conditions, are set, we can be like these people, if not worse. All right. So I
Yeah.
think the best way to read history is to read history as if it is you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that I think that's where you have a deeper knowledge as to
Yeah.
what it is these guys did, why they did what they did. Because we can't be so sure that me or you, if we were in Nazi Germany in 1930, we would have been part of the people that would purge other Jews. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I think it is
Yeah.
very important for us to see the devil, because everybody has the devilish, but we all have it. Do you understand? The
Yeah.
propensity for evil, the
Yeah.
propensity for violence. All right. I think to be is the best way to see this thing is to understand that we are capable of violence, we are capable of evil, we are capable of malevolence. So that knowledge alone will make us humble, will make
Yeah.
us not want to commit those acts. And now this is
Yeah.
the problem. This is the problem I'm seeing in this day and age. When we look back and be like, oh, those people were racist, they were devil, they were vile, they were blah, they were this, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you understand? I'm
I
like,
agree with you.
no, if you were back there, you would do the same thing. So the
Yeah.
thing
I
is,
agree with you.
just try as much as possible not to, but just acknowledge that, bro, you are not any different from these people. But just try not to be like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you. I think the word that struck me after I read the book, and you just said it right now, was humility. Because even though you were reading, as we read, you could see the trance that the German people were in when
Yeah,
Hitler took the stages. And I was thinking to myself, if I was in that crowd, would I be cheering or not? I probably will. I
that's
probably
the
will be
question.
cheering
Will you be
for this
cheering or
crazy
not?
not just
Yes,
take.
exactly.
I probably will be in the streets hailing, the coming to power of the new Chancellor of Germany, which was Hitler at the time. And it just humbled me to say that, okay, I have a propensity to be captivated by ideology. So now I
Yeah,
can protect myself against it. But there's this moral
exactly.
superiority. There's this moral superiority with people nowadays. When they read history, especially, they see, okay, I can never be that person. That can never be
Exactly.
me. I can
Yeah,
never do 1/10 of those things. I can never. I would have never been a racist. I would have never been in support of segregation. I would have never been in support of the Biafran War. I would have never been in support of World War II. I would have never been like there was just I would have never been if I was there. Things would have changed. Like that's the word. That statement
exactly.
baffles me so much.
If I was there, things would
I
have
was
changed.
there. I was things have changed. I'm like no, bro. Like no, bro. Chances are you'll be right there with them. You'll
Yeah,
be advocating the same things the way advocates, and And it's just you should protect yourself against ideologies instead of assuming that you can't be engulfed by one. You should be more concentrated on individual thinking and individual
Word.
of ideas, not just being engulfed in ideologies. So ideologies scare me. I must admit to you, because once you're engulfed by it, it's almost like there's no going out. It's like a net that can't get out of. Do you get? And you just keep on going down and down
It
and
just
down
keep going. It's like entering into going down
until
the
you have no
bottomless.
mind of your own anymore. Until
Yeah,
you can't think for
just going
yourself. It's
down the
just like
bottomless.
communism. It's like socialism. You
Exactly,
don't know
exactly.
why you're doing the things you're doing anymore. You have no rational explanation for it.
I get to the
And
point where
this
you
was the
can
case,
literally
yeah.
kill because of that ideology.
And this was the case of the Germans at the time. After the
Yeah.
war, they couldn't understand what just happened. It was like they woke up from a bad dream. They
Yeah.
were shocked. I mean, it was completely stunning, and the world could not understand this because they were not in that in system, and it was a system. It was a system whereby if you were a kid, you would smile at the sight of concentration camps, and that should just tell you that that kind of system, it was more than the individual. It was way more than just
Mm.
or one man.
Yeah.
It was
Was it
way more than
collective
that.
unconscious?
It was a collective. It was a collective evil. That's how I
Yeah.
tried to put it. It was collective evil, and Hitler made sure the German people indulged in that evil, and he made sure they were a part of it.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that was I mean, I think anyone really should read a book on the Second World War.
Yeah.
And focus also especially on the rise and fall of the Nazi
Okay.
Germany. I
All
think
right. So
it'd be
so
very
let's
yeah,
move.
very
Let's move to
the
the
next one,
the third
last
one.
yeah,
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, yeah. Yes, so this one is yeah, so Game of Thrones is a Song of Fire and Ice by George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin. I think obviously it plays a lot of cultural significance into I mean I think everyone pretty knows Game of Thrones right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I started reading Game of Thrones, or I started being involved in Game of Thrones just after I'd read a book on the Second World War. And I couldn't help but notice, pretty striking similarities. It's just the
Mm.
madness and the stupidity, and I use that word deliberately, the stupidity of men in doing the things they do. Power,
Mm.
hunger, greed. I mean, all the factors were there in Game of
Yeah.
Thrones in ways that you just never, you see it raw, you see it live.
Yeah.
But again, the author itself was pretty. I mean, it took George R. R. Martin 27 years to write six
It's,
books.
it's insane,
Yeah,
bro. It's almost like
yeah,
they kind of there's a similarity to me between T.R.R. Tolkien, the guy that wrote
yeah, absolutely.
Lord of
Yeah,
the Rings, and
Lord of the
J.R.R.
Rings.
Martin,
Yeah,
spending that amount of years and even like
yeah,
building new languages. This guy built a new
exactly.
language for
With
The
That's
Dothraki
for the
language, and this guy T.R.R. Tolkien built for the Elvish language. But
yeah.
there's one striking difference, and when we talked about the things that human beings can do, the thing I found out in T.R.R. Tolkien, that's Lord of the Rings, he encapsulated evil as something from without, something from outside affecting man, an
Mm-hmm.
external force, right?
Yeah,
And J.R.R. Martin said, like, no, like his books
yeah,
said, like, the idea is like, no, it's not that way. Evil dwells in every man, regardless.
yeah.
Even the most noble man can be evil. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
evil lurking in him. It's just
It's
you
like
need the
yeah,
right
it's like
parameter
latent.
to.
It's like latent energy, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
so
like
it is
latent.
within and not without.
It needs a spark,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I completely agree with you. I mean, you see from even the first book itself, you see how the madness played along. You see how the controversies arose from the death of Ned Stark, from the beheading of Ned Stark to the declaration of war to the north of the country, which was wanted to secede from the Seven Kingdoms. I think it just played into what I always thought about the nature of men: greed, power. Like there was nothing to be learned because they had fought a war in the book, like in the story, they had fought a war in I think 20 years before the present timing of the book.
Okay. Which war?
Yeah,
Was it
that
the
was
one,
the Targaryen,
the Targaryen War? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Robert Baratheon's rebellion,
Yeah, the Roberts, yeah,
and they
the
learned nothing
rebellion
at all.
war.
Like there was absolutely nothing to be learned. It was almost like they wanted this war, like, and like even in the book, you just explained that every decade or so they needed the war to clear up the bad blood, the quote unquote bad blood.
Mm,
Uh, that war never really ends. It just has peaks and lows, and
mm,
that
mm,
strikes me
mm.
as very that was very apt processing. Peaks are when the actual, like what we see as actual war.
Yeah,
The lows are just the build up of the peaks. The
yeah.
lows are like cold wars, and even in present time we have cold wars.
I call them, I use physics terms, kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy is when the war actually happens, but the potential is
Yeah,
built up, it's building up, it's building up.
yeah, exactly. And also in the book, just the character. I mean, the brilliance of the characters. My God,
All right, let me
this
stop
guy.
let me stop you there. Who is your favorite character?
Yeah. So I have different criteria for my characters, but overall, I would say Jimmy Lannister.
Really?
Yeah, and I know it's very weird. But like
Is
I
this
said, I have
because
different.
of his redemption
I
story and all that?
Jimmy Lannister's um character, his character arc and his evolution
Mm,
and his development as a character
yeah,
was just remarkable. I mean, you cannot beat that kind of
yeah,
uh, character transformation ever. And I mean, this guy was a strong guy. He was a strong guy.
yeah,
He had undergone unbelievable humiliation.
yeah.
But he never broke once, and I think that
Mm,
struck me. This
mm,
guy never was from to even up until the point he died with the love of his life. And what's it called? It was not. He had no disillusions about who he was.
yeah,
He owned. He owned. He owned his evil. He owned his good. He owned that he was a kingslayer. He owned that he killed the king himself to protect. He
yeah,
owned that he had committed. That slept with his sister. He owned that the children of Cersei Lannister were children. He owned everything about him, and he never once was ashamed of it. And at first, that would come across as as just arrogance and whatnot.
mm,
But it was
yeah,
just who he was. He was never confused about who he was, and that made him even stronger as a character.
mm,
Even when he went on to the other side to fight the White Walkers, he
yeah,
owned that he had abandoned, the Seven Kingdoms to fight this war. Um, and he was just never. He was just that kind of guy. But I think apart from him, um, I would say as well. I think Jon Snow is a bit cliche right now.
yeah.
Um,
It's a little cliche,
yeah,
actually.
he's a
It's
bit
a
cliche.
cliche.
But I
For me,
think for
it's
me, Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion
Tyrion.
Lannister was yeah, Tyrion Lannister.
Okay.
Tyrion Lannister was probably the smartest guy in the book. If you actually read
Yeah,
the
he
book,
was. He
and,
was.
and when you watch the series, it's a bit, it's a bit like a drunkard, just a
Mm,
guy that like play around and so forth. But if you read the book, you see the wisdom of Tyrion Lannister. I mean, this guy, all he could do was read. Basically, it was a dwarf. He was ugly. It was grotesque. So I'm serious. In the book, it was much more uglier than it was portrayed. Let me just say that.
so grotesque.
That's how it was defined. But from the time when he just dropped bars that was just fascinating. Like, um, for example, he was saying books are to sword. No, sorry.
But
I'm not
book
sure what it's
sharpens
called
the
now.
mind or something.
Yeah, so say yeah, book sharpens the mind. Like this item, sword sharpener. This is sharpens sword, and
Yeah.
he had a very sharp mind. Tyrion Lannister. He was very he was very smart. He was very. It was also he could also dish out evil. He could dish out revenge. He was not afraid. Was not afraid to stand up to bullies. He killed his father.
Yeah.
This guy was not. He was not afraid to stand up to bullies at all. but he was loyal to his family until they spat him out. And Lancer was a very interesting character, I must say. I mean, he was very interesting writers, and he was one of the main characters in the series. People
Yeah.
forget that he was actually he was pretty much top 4 or 5 feature characters. Jon Snow, everyone knows Jon Snow as probably the main character. Lannister was right up there in my opinion.
For me,
sure.
for me, like one of the main characters that really struck me was Sansa Stark. She had a very like going through all the things she went through.
Yeah, the torture of
the torture, the humiliation, and all of that. And it still did not really. She changed, right? But it didn't change who she was exactly. She was still the good girl. She was still all about her family, right?
Yeah, she was a Stark.
She was loyal to the Stark family, to the Stark name, and I just love that about her. The way the character was built to the point where she wasn't this naive girl anymore. At the end, she wasn't this naive girl anymore. She was wiser. She learned from Marjorie. She learned from Peter Baelish. She learned from Tyrion. Do you understand? She learned from the best of the best, and she like kind of picked all of these things together.
I wanted to ask you, who's your most? Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, she kind of picked all of these people's ideas together, and like she could now use it for herself. All right. She didn't just say, okay, I want to be this person 100%. I want to be this person 100%. And she was always, I love the fact that because I'm kind of like this way also. Right. Like she was like staying behind the scenes, just doing things low key, being naive and whatnot, but
she was very naive,
getting everything like a sponge. Yeah, she was very naive at the beginning, but towards like the end, you could see like, yes, this girl had learned a lot. She could take in pain. She could stay. She could adapt. Yeah, that's the word. She could adapt in any situation. She stayed with Joffrey. She stayed with Ramsay, bro.
Ramsay Bolton.
Do you understand?
I wanted to ask, who's your most vile character in the entire series?
The most vile character. Oh boy, there are many.
There are many.
I hated Peter Baelish in my life. Jesus. Oh my goodness, I hated that guy. I hated
Snake.
That guy's a snake. I hated what's the name of this guy? I've forgotten his name. To come back.
Hound.
No, I love the Hound.
Is he the guy with the burnt face?
I know, I love the Hound. The Hound is the one guy with the burnt face. I love
Is it his brother, the Mountain?
Yes, I hated the Mountain. He was one that killed. I hated him because he killed Oberyn Martell. Bro, that's in pain.
That's that guy.
Yeah, and there's one last person I hate. Yes, this guy, Stannis Baratheon, because the way he killed this, he was one of, I think it was the only scene where I almost cried. It was the only scene where I almost cried, where he killed his daughter. Shirer.
Everyone wanted to talk about Stannis Baratheon. I wanted to talk about Stannis Baratheon was supposed to be the stand-up guy, right?
Yeah.
He was supposed to be this guy that is of justice, is of honor. He doesn't take any nonsense from anybody. That's exactly why he was shunned from the Seven Kingdoms away from his brother before his brother died, which was Robert Baratheon. But Stannis Baratheon quickly devolved into what typically people usually devolve: the lust for power, the sacrifice they're willing to give. And it started out small, First of all, he sacrificed his honor by sleeping with the Red Princess.
Yeah.
That was the first sacrifice. And I think when I was reading the book, I was like, wow, once this guy has done this, then there's really no end to what he can do.
Back, yeah.
So he sacrificed. He had already given away his honor. He didn't have that anymore. He killed his brother through dark magic, which he from the Red Priest again, which was used because once he started depending on the dark magic, there was no way out of it. He couldn't trust his military instincts, and he was a very sharp military man.
Yeah,
he couldn't trust anything about him anymore. He had already given into that power, so his faith was now in something else. And yeah, and that was struck me that once you have developed that kind of attitude, once you rely on something, whether it's um alcohol to do a certain thing or drugs to do a certain thing, you would need it, especially if you're successful at it. You need that thing for the rest of your day. Like imagine if you're a writer, right, and you
Yeah,
need alcohol to work, and you eventually write a book that succeeds, and you start thinking, okay, I did this just because of the influence of
yeah.
alcohol. None of your work you do anymore.
Mm.
You you would always want to include that in all of your works because you
Alcohol,
see,
yeah.
okay, this work. But anyways, Stanley Baratheon sacrificed honor, then sacrificed his brother's sons, started killing people for dark magic, and he just devolved into this madman that obviously lost. So that was a very interesting character too. I don't think he gets enough time on the actual series because in
Yeah,
the
he
book
didn't
it
get
was
didn't get
very
enough
more,
time in
yeah.
that series.
In the book he
But so
definitely got
I want to
time in
ask
it.
you
Yeah.
some questions before we end the thing. Couple of questions. You've already told me who
Yeah.
your best character is.
Yeah.
So the movie or the book, the series itself or the books, which would you prefer?
So I think again, if you read the book, you might be pissed off a little bit by the series. And if you watch the
Yeah,
series, you might find the book harder to accept because you don't want to change the
yeah,
position of the characters.
yeah,
Um, for example, yeah. So, but I think they started diverting from maybe the third season. I would say,
yeah,
um, from the third season. I mean, Jon Snow was portrayed probably accurately well. I think he was the most accurately portrayed out of all the characters.
yeah.
Um, Cersei Lannister was far more disgusting and vile than I even
Than
expected. Like, I was
than the
shocked.
actual Cersei in the
Yeah,
series.
that actual series. Yeah. So that really shocked me. Um, Robert Baratheon was because he went to the history of Robert Baratheon's rebellion briefly as well. And Robert Baratheon was more, you love him more if you read the book
Mm,
because that guy was strong, he was big, he was just a badass until he died, of course. Same with
yeah,
Ned Stark. So I think, but I think again, they really tried because you can't include all the characters they
yeah,
ever had.
yeah, exactly.
Because George R. R. Martin had so many characters,
So many
and
characters.
each
Yeah,
character had a vital role to play.
yeah.
I
Okay,
think yeah, sorry, yeah, go on.
so
Yeah, I think that
another question.
yeah.
Which or because I get into arguments with people concerning this a lot. Who do you think is the best swordsman ever in Game of Thrones?
Oof. The best, like in terms of
Okay, or
people that we
let me
actually have
give you this versus let me give you this
because
versus
okay, yeah,
this versus this. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, sure.
Barrister Selmy
Oh God.
versus Jamie Lannister. Jamie
Oh,
Lannister with two hands. Prime
it's
Barrister
one.
Selmy and prime Jamie Lannister.
Jesus. Prime Barrister sell me. I don't think anyone could have. I think Prime Barrister sell me for sure. Prime Barrister sell me was an animal. I mean, he and there's another guy they called,
Otto Dane.
and the series doesn't really show him. There's another guy they called Sword of Morning.
Yeah, Otto
Um,
Dane. Dane
so
something.
Dane. That was
Yeah.
probably the best swordsman
I was
ever.
about to ask you that sell me or Dane. Prime
Dane,
Dane, that
definitely
is.
Dane. So Dane, Prime Dane was you couldn't touch that guy. That guy slayed. That guy could take on 10 men, 10 knights, or even more at once.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was, yeah,
All
he could
right.
fight with one
Okay.
sword, two swords. It was massive. Yeah.
Um Braun, right?
Uh-huh.
You know Braun.
Yeah. Yeah, no
Braun
Braun, yeah, the sorcerer.
versus Prime Jamie Lannister.
Oh, now Braun is an interesting guy. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy was a street fighter, right? So the tactics he will use definitely would be different. But again, I don't see him slaying Jamie Lannister. I think Jamie Lannister is just too smart. He's just too cunning.
Okay.
What I would think is he would definitely injure him, but I think Jamie Lannister will still win. Jamie
Okay.
Lannister was an icon in himself, yeah.
So I also got into an argument with someone on Twitter on
What about
this.
Jon Snow? You didn't pair Jon Snow with Jon Snow was a beast as well.
No, I'm getting there now. I'm
Okay,
getting
you're
there.
getting the okay, all right.
All right. Jamie
Yeah.
Lannister um or this guy or Khal Drogo. Prime Jaime Lannister, prime Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo would tear out Jaime Lannister's eyes.
Do you understand? I was telling
Guy
someone
will
on
rip
Twitter that,
out his
bro,
tongue.
Khal Drogo would tear you.
There was
I
no
was like,
chance.
no,
If it's
like
a
Jaime
one-on-one
Lannister
fight,
is more
nah, nah,
calculative.
nah.
He's a knight, so
Forget
he's armored, blah 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 blah, and all that.
that. Let me tell you, because the Dothraki, those guys, they fight with. I even think they fight more carefully than they are portrayed to be in the series, because
Okay.
they wear no armor, right?
Yeah.
They are very calculative in the things they do, and they have this sword. They have a different sword. It's called an akar.
Yeah,
It
this
can
like
cut.
sickle shape.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and it's curved, so you can definitely cut through whatever armor Jim Lannister, and even the
Yeah.
armor will slow him down so much
Yeah.
because Khal fast. That armor will slow Jim Lannister that won't be able to move much. So I think Khal Drogo definitely, like, that was not even a contest in my opinion. Like
All
Khal
right.
Drogo,
All right.
yeah.
Jon Snow or Grey Worm.
Hmm. Hmm. That's interesting. I think, yeah, I'm assuming Prime Jon Snow, right? After he has gone through the that is Jon Snow in his prime, right?
Yeah. Prime Jon Snow.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Prime this guy. Prime Grey
I
Worm.
think Jon Snow would win just because I can't imagine anybody killing Jon Snow. Well,
All
Grey
right.
One too. Grey One
All
too is
right.
bad, yeah.
Last question and then we
Yeah.
end this.
All right, sure.
This is between armies, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Dothraki army versus
Mm-hmm.
the Unsullied.
It
3,000
depends where.
Dothrakis, 3,000
Yeah.
Dothrakis, 3,000 Unsullied. Who do you think will
So
win?
it depends where. If it's on the open ground, if say your army rush my army,
Yeah.
open ground,
Infantry,
Dothraki will massacre anybody.
infantry.
If
No horse,
no
nothing.
horses.
You know,
But that's
yeah.
a different case. No, or
Infantry.
no, that's a bit unfair on the Dothraki because they only use horse. They mostly use
Do
they
you
rely so
understand?
much on
Because the
horse.
horses,
They worship their horses. Yeah,
if it's on
their
open
horses is
field,
their
the
life.
horses will give
You
them
know, yeah,
like
we give them
added
yeah.
advantage.
I think the Unsullied will win just because they are more. Yeah, they are better infantry than the Dothraki.
Yeah, and
The
they're
Dothraki
very
are horseback
good at
slingers. Yeah,
defensive.
yeah, yeah. They're very defensive. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
But
This was it.
yeah. Just last question. What do you think the strongest army was?
The strongest army.
Yeah, like the North. Was it the North or the Lannisters or Storm's End or the Dothraki or the Unsullied?
I think it was the Unsullied. They were joy
Solid.
to watch. I just loved
Yeah,
the
sure.
orderliness. Do you
Yeah, I
understand?
agree with
I
that.
can watch
Yeah.
when I'm watching Grey Worm fight. I take it back. I take it back. I'm like, bro, like fighting with a spear with so much efficiency, like, bro, it's busting. You usually bust my head. Do you understand? Like,
Yeah,
fight
I
so
agree with
well
that.
with your spear, and the fact that they are unafraid about anything. Do you understand? They are
Yeah,
fearless
yeah,
people. I think they're even more fearless than Dothraki himself, because
yeah. I get. Yeah,
they have nothing to lose, really.
yeah, yeah. I get
So
what you
for
mean.
me, it's the
Yeah, true.
Unsullied. It's the Unsullied army.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyways,
Yeah,
this has been an interesting conversation, Dami.
yeah.
Thanks
Thank you
a
very much,
lot
Sheriff,
for
for
taking
having
all
me
your
on.
time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no problem. All right.
And so for everyone that has listened to this, thank you and goodbye.